All right, folks, we are just about getting started. How we all doing today? Oh, don't mind me. There we go. That should do the trick. Woo! Oh no. Still a little bit left. I know. Okay. Now just nobody breathe. Nobody move. And everything should be okay. Oh man, how are we all doing today? I hope you're working on something incredible, doing something amazing that you believe in, because that's what we're going to do here today, and I think everyone deserves that. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. Today we're going to be doing something very, very fun. We're going to be going in and doing that design for the very, very simple concept that we're just going to polish. We're going to polish it like crazy, and that's what we're going to be working on for the next little while. So that'll be a great time. Reminder that we have the interview series with Game Jam team participants on Thursday. It'll be starting at 4:30-ish p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be doing that with Amanusis over on his Twitch channel. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a really, really great time. I'm very excited. In case you can't tell how excited I am, count the amount of times I've said really and very in a couple of short sentences. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Twitch. How are we doing? Made it in the beginning. This time Discord helps. Oh, good. I'm so glad. Game Maker, welcome. Glad to see you. Hey, the animations on that second character look rad, man. Like, legit, really cool. Cool. All right. Yeah, thanks for jumping in, Game Maker. It's great to see you. So without further ado, let's jump on in, shall we? Let's go ahead and get things started. So I'm going to get my whiteboard up here. Pull up our browser. There we go. What is new and exciting in everybody's lives? What are things that you're working on? In addition to the stream, I've also been doing a UI course, a UI graphic design course called Shift Nudge. And it's stupid expensive, but it's going to be a really good professional investment. So I've been working on my UI skills, which is exciting. Kind of doing some practice stuff off the stream because it is a paid course and I don't feel comfortable streaming it online, unfortunately. I think you'll be taking a small break for the Metroidvania Game Jam. Oh, cool. Yeah, is that starting February? Is it February to March or is it March to April? Are you going to be doing that full-time instead of the platformer project? All right. So we are going to make a new section here. And this will be our jump game. Because spoilers, this entire game is going to be based around jumping. So let's go ahead and zoom in here. And we're going to start the same way we started with our incremental platformer, which I still want to build, by the way. It is still on the list. We're definitely going to be tackling it. But I have been learning my lessons. Scope and polish. Right now, I am not at the financial situation, nor am I in the technical ability position to build that whole thing out and polish it really, really highly. And I've learned my lesson. Polish wins. So we're going to do something we can polish. Oh, man. Binwell is over in our Discord just throwing down knowledge. All sorts of awesome books to go check into for people that are really into computer engineering. Cool stuff over there. Man, need to check those out. Okay. Let's do this. So, the way that I like to start every design project, whether it is game design, or it is product design, or anything else, is what emotion, or rather, what are we trying to accomplish? What's our goal? And for game design, for me, that amounts to what is the emotion that we are trying to elicit. Because my theory of game design is that games are a way for individuals to engage with artificial drama in order to elicit a specific emotion. It's not always about fun. There are many games that are not fun, but that are still video games and that are important and powerful. Fun is not the implicit goal of games. It shouldn't be, at least. So, what is our emotion? What are we trying to invoke? Hey, Kyrian Games! I've been brainstorming a solo project that'll be more of a dating sim, as well as preparing a team for NaNoRenO Jam. Okay, I need you to tell me about NaNoRenO Jam. There are capital letters in there that should not be capitalized, and I'm assuming that's entirely intentional. I've never heard of this. I beg your wisdom. Game Maker, yes sir, Feb to March. It will be a part of the template using the fighting template for the game jam. It will be adventure mode in the template. That way I'm technically still working on my main project. Oh, see, that's clever. Find a way to work a side project into your main thing. That's awesome. Very cool. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. That's really exciting. I can't wait to see about that. I'm assuming you're going to be streaming that and putting that on your YouTube content. Rodmaker, I'm also here from the beginning this time around. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, Rodmaker. It's great to see you. I believe Mage Knight has been getting some more attention, right? People have been playing it. Need to find this here. I thought I saw some extra comments on there. Not match. Mage. Yeah. Oh, Colton's such a great guy. So cool. Awesome. Oh, very, very cool. Yeah, Colton Phillips is an amazing dude. He got a really rough review from one of the judges. And I was watching him in Discord, in the Pirate Software Discord, as he was receiving that review. And he accepted it was rough, and he said, I appreciate brutal honesty, but man, it was pretty rough. And instead of just retreating, he said, I'm gonna go play other people's games. I'm gonna go leave comments on as many games as I can. And I'm amazed by that. I think the emotional fortitude and largeness of heart that requires, amazing. Rodmaker, a couple more comments. Yeah, people have been so kind. Good. Oh, that's lovely. I'm happy to hear that. Oops. Don't want to bring that up too much. Game Maker, you have a good feeling this is going to be a fun stream if me and Rob is here in the beginning. That's right. And Kyrian Games as well. We got our YouTube crowd. We got our Twitch people following in. It's a play of NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month. Oh. It's the visual novel RenP version of that, where you attempt to make a visual novel in a month every March. Oh, that's very cool. Very, very cool. Okay, so this will be your second visual novel project then. Is that, like, did you enjoy that so much you kind of want to keep exploring that space fully and you're not really interested in branching out very much? You want to stay in that visual novel space? All right. Emotion. What emotion do we want to elicit here? What I think may actually be kind of interesting is, what if we got an emotion wheel? Let's get an emotion wheel image. And I'm going to copy and paste this in here from humansystems.co. And what I think would be interesting is if we just kind of picked a couple of random things on here. And I'm going to just spin my mouse around without looking at anything. And wherever the mouse lands, that's one candidate emotion for this game. Affectionate. Okay. And the purpose here is not to pick something and then run with it. It's to generate ideas. It's to get a lot of bad ideas out of the way so that we can kind of explore out of my preconceived notions. Because when I thought of this concept, oh, we're going to make a game with one action, and we're just going to polish that one action, I thought jumping. Jumping's a good action. We can just do jumping. My mind immediately went to a very specific type of game. And the problem with that is probably not the best incarnation of this project. Your first idea is almost never the right direction to go. So we're going to just dive in real deep here. This is a big part of polishing, which is just lots and lots and lots of ideas. So we're going to spin. I'm looking straight at the camera. Can't see where my mouse is, and stop. Scared. Okay. Both of these are very different than what I was imagining to start off with. So let's see. RenP is pretty limited. It does VNs almost exclusively. I want to get good at that before diving into other engines. I still feel like I've just scratched the surface of what I can do in that genre. Okay. All right. Fine. Also, very cool. Very cool, Kyrian. We'll do the full wheel. We'll have it for dramatic effect here. Bin will. By the way, thank you for posting those books in Discord. I'm really excited to dive into those. Caring, grateful, excited, respected, valued, accepted, brave, hopeful, powerful, creative, curious, affectionate, guilty, excluded, ashamed. I'm sure there's a million typos in all these. Jealous, bored, overwhelmed, powerless, anxious, disappointed, hurt, and lonely. Okay, all right. We've done it. We've done the thing. Let's take this back. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it live. Spin! Caring. Okay. Caring. I'm gonna get maybe one more. Let's get 5 ideas. So we'll do 2 more. We'll do 2 more. Game maker Guilty gear? Was that meant? Jealous. Interesting. At first I was thinking, why would we want to make a player feel jealous? But then all of a sudden ideas kind of started coming into my head that I may not have considered. I like it. Go one more time. Annoyed. Perfect. Okay. It's a tough one. When you start getting into stuff like annoyed, it's risky. Anytime you start deliberately messing with your player and introducing negative emotions, you have to really know what you're doing. You have to be incredibly good at what it is you're trying to accomplish. All right. So these are our candidate emotions. So we have affectionate, scared, jealous, caring, and annoyed. I'm going to just really quick brainstorm out some concepts that are coming to my mind when I see these. And then maybe with those concepts, we can kind of start to evaluate what are things that seem the most interesting? What seems the most compelling? So affectionate, once again, in terms of a game that is primarily centered around jumping, or rather nearly exclusively. Guilty. It's okay, I wanted annoyed, so it works. And if you have thoughts as well, feel free to shout them out. So affectionate, what I kind of got was like a tunic-style fox sort of character. Could be... jump to move to a location to be affectionate for someone, like a frog trying to snuggle its owner or something. Oops. Oh, come on. All right, fine, we'll do this. Frog trying to snuggle owner. Okay. Also, I'm seeing on the stream, this text is showing up before it's showing up in my software. So if I'm slow to read, that's why. Picking up items and give away to someone. Picking up items and give away to someone. Legitimately one idea that I had for a concept that I kind of want to explore someday is like a Homeward Bound style game, you know, of a pet trying to cross the country and return to its owner, and it meets random people along the way, and it's almost kind of WarioWare style, and each different person you meet is a different individual just trying to help in their own weird way, and they have their own mini game and stuff, and it's a narrative to take you through. I think that could be kind of fun. Affectionate. What are some more ideas for affection? I want to get to at least 5 on each of these. I mean, affection. A gentle feeling of fondness or liking. So, what about like pollinators that, jump from flower to flower? Or, my mother would be so disappointed in me that I misspelled pollinator. One other vague thought that I had, and I'm just gonna write it down because it's not really a very solid concept, but in the writing of it, that will help to get the idea a little bit more real, or at least allow my brain to move past it. So let's do the trying to reach a gravestone. And what if that gravestone was the moon or something? And then you're just trying to jump up as high as you can, what about like a dog that lost its owner and got this misconceived notion that and that's why dogs howl at the moon, because that's where their owner's spirits go. Oh god. Dogs howl at the moon. Moon equals dog owner heaven. Oh. Butchers and caring? Alright, that's fair. I mean, it could be either, right? This is kind of more about doing something to show someone you care, and the other one is just like, I think you're a neat person, and I'm just gonna give you a gift because that makes me happy. Whereas this is kind of more about like, I see that you need something. So needs based, or you know, it's centered on the gift receiver. But I think we could still put this in affectionate. And it's just more around maybe wants based. And that's not perfect. There's definitely some overlap there. But for example, like if I had to say what is an occasion where you give a gift and you're caring versus giving a gift and you're affectionate, this is like Valentine's Day, right? But then over here, it's more like service or something, right? It's taking someone's kids off their hands so they can go do work, or bringing a meal over to someone, or helping the farmer pick all of his crops before winter comes and they lose the whole thing, right? Game Maker, excellent. Yeah, I'm glad you feel so. Okay. Overlap is good, I believe, in this case. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Definitely see that. So let's go ahead and move over to caring. What's a situation in which case we may be jumping in order to care? An obvious thing that comes to mind is protection, right? Defense. You are caring about something, so you are moving, you're jumping in order to kind of put things in places to protect, to defend, right? It could be, if we go like full One Piece anime style, it's like, I'm going to fulfill my oath, my promise. I swore I'd become the Pirate King, and so I'm gonna do it because you were that important of a person to me, and you made me promise this, so I'm gonna do it, you know, sort of a thing. Caring. What else? Caring. Ooh, okay, this is a weird idea, but I kind of like it. You're like carrying electricity, like you are electricity, and you are jumping between circuits to get to like a hospital or something. That's kind of interesting. Grab herbs in high places for medicine. Oh, ooh, ooh. I kind of like that. Like, medicinal herbs are hard to gather. You are a volunteer to brave the heights. I think that's pretty neat. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. That's caring. Let's move on to scared. Scared. Obviously to escape, right? Whether it's like an encroaching darkness that's constantly flowing upwards, or whether it is, you know, a creature climbing up trying to get at you. Escape. Because we're scared. And so let me put this down as a physical escape, but I also think there's escape of emotional escape, right? It may not be a scared feeling of, oh no, something is going to get me. It may be a scared of, I feel trapped and I need to get away. I think that might be an interesting space to explore. Situations in which you're scared and you're jumping. This is really dumb. I just have an image in my head of like a crumbling cliff, and you are like anime jumping over to your different rocks to escape gravity. Essentially. What about somehow an entire game centered around Indiana Jones style last minute jumps? That last dive away from the explosion or underneath the door or whatever. Medicine is up high, but you have to go through predators and animals. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of one of my like top things we have written down here. I'd like to explore this a little bit more. One more for scared. It's also perfect, Figma. Thank you for having this bar right here. Let me move this up a little bit so we can actually see what we're typing in for. What would you be scared of that you would jump away from? In an Indiana Jones style. Yeah. Buzzards. Or hazards. I see. Hazards. Maybe. That could be a thought. Maybe it's... So we kind of have like physical escape up here, but then it sounds like what we're doing over here is like dodge, right? Dodging out of the way of things. Could be. Drop that back down. Let's throw it over to jealous. And the thought that came into my mind when I thought of jealous was like an adventuring squire or something, right? Like, I am so small in comparison to these legends. Yeah, rocks fall. Gary Gygax has entered the chat. So, adventuring squire. Oh, okay. Here's another kind of like left field idea. What about like a moon trying to become a star, right? Like the moon is trying to escape orbit and be one of those stars that it sees all around itself all the time and is jealous of. I think that could be kind of interesting. What else for jealousy? What are situations in which people get jealous? There is a talent or a possession or... This one's kind of in the same vein as an adventuring squire, but like, what about a coming-of-age story? Where, like, the player has fallen behind the rest of its peer group. Player has fallen behind peer group. What about competing deities, right? If we go to like the Greek pantheon or something. Competing deities. I think that's kind of interesting. Deities. And then what? Let's do one more. For jealousy. We don't have like a romantic jealousy in here. Oh, a wolf pack. That's interesting. That's very interesting. A wolf pack. Very cool. Game Maker, yo, you got good ideas, friend. You're throwing out little great nuggets all the time. Vevin Valor, heyo, how you doing? Welcome in. How are you today? I hope you're working on something amazing. We are brainstorming ideas of a very low scope game that is purely based around jumping, is the only design constraint. And the concept is I need to build my ability to polish. I need to figure out how to really refine an experience until it is slickery smooth. Because I have learned throughout my career, and then it was once again reaffirmed in the Game Jam, that polish wins. So that's what we're gunning for here. This is a project to just polish up the simplest thing we possibly can until it looks, feels, and sounds incredible. It goes with the moon and herbs. That's true. That's true. Main mechanic is jumping. Yes. Yes. And that will be the only thing the player does. To be clear, one mechanic. You jump. That's it. And you may think that's a weird constraint to put on yourself, but then I would show you Cursor Blade. If you haven't seen Cursor Blade, you should go check out Cursor Blade. It's a game entirely based around moving your mouse cursor. That is literally the entire game. There are no other mechanics that the player engages in actively. The only action they can take is moving the cursor. So if they can do this with moving the cursor, I'm pretty sure we can do something really neat with jumping. So, I can't get romantic interest out of my head, but I also can't think of anything like really thematic for it or anything. So I'm just gonna write that down and park it. Let's go to annoyed. So clearly we have the Noid, which is before my time. Annoyed. What about trying to swat away a beehive or like a mosquito or something? What about... Oh, what if the game taunts you on failure? Once again, this is the sort of thing we need to be very, very careful with if you ever pursue something like this, because when you're actively antagonizing your player in some sort of way, you gotta make sure it's being done, like, perfectly. But we're not necessarily going to be chasing any of these. They're all just ideas. They're concepts we're throwing out. So, taunts you on failure. What other concepts may be for annoyed? Jumping, annoyed. Something in your shoe. Ouch. Ooh, ouch. 2 more. Okay. Oh, goodness. This is why you all join, right? This is the high quality entertainment and mission driven organization you're all here to support. Oh my goodness. Annoyed jumping. Wolfpack fight for his love that was taken by the alpha, and now she's sick, and you and the alpha are in a race to get the herbs. Oh, dang. Game Maker, like, playing full bingo with these ideas, lacing everything together. That's super cool. That sounds like your Metroidvania to work on. By the way, do you have an idea already for the Metroidvania you're going to be working on? Thematically and everything, that is? I know it's going to be using your fighting game engine. Something annoying and jumping. By the way, in case anyone has missed it, we did get invited to be affiliate status over the weekend. So we're trying to plan out and really design that whole operation. Our big thing that I'm really thinking about right now is channel points. We have a poll up on our Discord to go think about what type of stuff you want to see channel points used for. I've thrown out some ideas, and I'd love to hear anything else that you guys have. So if you haven't been in the Discord and voted in what those channel points should be used for, ideas are things like critiquing your game. Could be analyzing any game, where we take like an hour and we play it on stream and we analyze it. Or doing a showcase of your game, or having a private call with myself or the community away from the stream, you know, any sort of thing like that. Story-wise, no. Only stay on the platform for so long before a hazard pops up. Oh. Okay, that's an interesting idea. So it's like you need to stay here, stay on X position for Y amount of time, but spikes every Z seconds. Yeah, sort of a thing. I like that. And then we've got like negative reinforcement. So, you know, like while on the ground, play a really annoying sound. So just anytime you're on the ground, like essentially floor is lava, right? But just emotional lava. You don't want to be on the ground because it's really annoying to be on the ground. Okay, all right. So we got a lot of interesting ideas here. Oh man. Every Z seconds not jumping. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, I think I'm actually going to kind of move these over to stickies so I can manipulate them a little bit more easily. So things that really stuck out to me, I really liked the reach the moon concept over here. I really liked the electricity, and I really liked the medicinal herbs. I thought those were both really neat ideas. Scared, I feel like we should include it just because it feels so obvious, you know? Jump to get away from something. That feels like the obvious thing. In Jealous, I really liked the competing deities idea. And the wolf pack sounds rad. I just don't think I'd be the one to build it, is the thing. And I'm just going off of what do I think I can really do. Annoyed. I kind of like that King of the Hill style sort of thing, right? That's essentially what that is. It's stay in this position for so much time, but there are obstacles coming at you. And so like you're trying not to jump as much as you can. I think that's kind of interesting. Or heck, we could do don't jump and jump versions, where the king of the area you're trying to get to is in the air, but it like moves. And so you're trying to figure out, you know, how to do that. Put top herb on the moon. Oh, shoot. So I'm going to take these now, and I'm going to just start kind of sorting them into what I think are the most compelling ideas for me. I really like Reach the Moon. I really like electricity. I really like the herbs idea, and then the deities idea. And then I think that might be kind of my tier ranking for these, just from my own gut feel. And this isn't a commitment. We may come back to some of these. We may come back to some of these later on and say, you know what? After we've learned more about this, we prototyped it, we've seen what it is, we think maybe we could do something like this and it would be really rad. All right. So out of these 4, what are my favorites? I'm going to try to just do gut ranking. I really like the competing deities aspect. Electricity, I think, would be fun and very different for me. But I struggle. It's not where I go naturally, which would be really good for a different type of growth exercise, right? This is like I'm trying to push myself as far along as I possibly can along the polish route. And that, to me, kind of tells me I need to be a little more comfortable with the idea. I do think this would be really cool, and I think it would be really cool for something like, do something you normally wouldn't do, and I'd definitely jump on that. Game Maker 2D Fighter on YouTube. Put the top herbs on the moon, climb the mountain to get out, but the top herbs are special herbs you have to avoid gods to get it. Alright, you're out of control, Game Maker. You're throwing everything together. It's all in a blender. Oh man, that's great. And honestly, I could see it. I totally could. If someone were good enough at executing on it, I could see it. Carrying games on Twitch. I'm kind of getting a Prometheus stealing fire from Olympus to give to humanity, caring, and the jumping mechanic is him escaping Olympus with the fire and overcoming the hazards and perils of other gods trying to stop him. That's quite interesting. I really like that. Yeah, so I think I'm liking the deities aspect more than anything, because medicinal herbs is very cool in kind of a low fantasy sort of style, dark fantasy, and that's very fun. Reach the Moon, I think it speaks to something in the human heart I really like. But competing deities is just rad, and I love it, and I think I'd have passion for it, and I think that would drive me forward a lot farther. So I think this is our theme here. I think this is our winner. Competing deities. So now we're going to kind of go at this in reverse. So we have this thing of competing deities. We're going to talk now about what are potential manifestations of that theme for caring. No, that was actually jealousy. So we could do jealousy, we could do caring. We're just going to brainstorm a bunch of different thoughts. And I know we're kind of going about this a little bit weird. It feels a little bit wibbly-wobbly, and that's because design is wibbly-wobbly, to be honest. Design is really just trying to structure abstract thoughts in your head to accomplish some sort of intention, to render an intent. That's all design is. So there's no right way to go about doing it. There just isn't. Sorry, everyone. There's no right way to design something. You could follow a process that feels completely bogus to the most seasoned professional in the industry. But if you're accomplishing what you set out to do, then you have successfully designed. So, I really like that idea of Prometheus stealing fire and just like getting out of Dodge. In fact, I kind of think this could be fun if you like pit the jealousy of gods against each other somehow, right? Like you it's like the boons that you get like in Hades style are reversed, not in the sense that they actively make things harder, but that they can kind of cancel each other out. So if you have, you know, a ton of fire getting blasted all over the place, you could then try and taunt Poseidon and get Poseidon to try and wash you away, and that nukes the fires, and then if you can survive that, then you kind of have cleared a path for yourself. That's kind of interesting. I like the idea of like choosing a champion to compete. Choosing/training a champion to compete. Ooh, this is an interesting idea. What if you're not playing as one character? What if you're playing as a crowd of contestants and you are trying to, like, instead of being an individual on the hero's journey, what if instead you were like, Phil from Disney's Hercules, right? You were the trainer of the heroes. You had a whole fresh crop of different people, and you were trying to get anyone, to be good enough to be accepted by the Pantheon. I think that could be interesting. Training a crowd. Almost get like some sort of auto battler type sort of things in there, but then are we moving away from the core concept of jumping? Game Maker, back to your points of climbing a mountain. What if you were scaling Mount Olympus? That could be fun. Let's do one more. One more idea. Scaling Mount Olympus and starting another game jam. Risky Biscuit, good to see you. Thanks for coming in, friend. In fact, thank you for asking, because I see through my wizard's eye that we have a couple more people here than we used to. What we are doing is trying to capitalize on the big thing that was really hammered home to me in the latest Pirate Software Game Jam, which is polish wins. It just wins. An excellently executed concept, even if the concept is kind of just okay, is going to be received much better than a really great concept that's kind of only executed on all right. So that's what we're going to try and do. I've never been a very high polished person. I've always been much more conceptual and much more idea based. And so this is me trying to say, if I'm going to make commercial products, if I'm going to make something to sell to a market, then I need to polish. So we're going to do one mechanic. You can do one thing in this game. You can jump. And that is it. We're going to try and make that feel as good as we possibly can. So that's what we're doing here. We're brainstorming a bunch of different design ideas. We're going to prototype them and test them out, and then we'll kind of try and find the fun. Kyrian Games, if we decide to keep taunting from Annoyed, having Zeus taunt us and even maybe throw some lightning bolts that have to be dodged gives us an active antagonist. Very true. Very true. Game Maker 2D Fighter. I love the God of War theme. Yeah, absolutely. Risky Biscuit Games. Execution is king. Yeah, absolutely. So we've settled on a theme here, which is this concept of the gods fighting against each other and vying for something. And now we're brainstorming what are some possible mechanical interpretations of that. Things you're actually trying to accomplish that would convey that theme of jealousy and of almost fighting against something bigger than you, right? Is kind of where we're starting to go here. Of these, in a sense, maybe sort of a power fantasy, because you are a small thing, but for some reason, you are very important to these very big things. And that's an interesting contrast. So, one more idea. Let me clarify this. Trying to make at least one worthy. And then the last one last concept. Scaling Mount Olympus. So something that I have in my head is a concept. The very first idea that I had when I thought I'm going to polish a game about jumping was kind of a shoot, what's it called? Burrito Bison. We pull this over here. So Burrito Bison is incredibly simple if you've never played it before. You basically just are in a catapult, and it's a timing game to see, trying to hit the top of that bar before it goes back down. And that's the whole thing. You click once to have it go up, and then you click again, and you get launched out of catapult. And that was kind of the very first concept I had, only except instead of being horizontal, it's vertical. The making of a god. That's interesting. Game Maker, that actually makes me start thinking about, like, Icarus. Combining it with that vertical ascension sort of thing. Icarus? I mean, that doesn't necessarily translate into a mechanic, but vertical ascension. And I guess that would be the jealousy of the gods about something that humanity has built. And to be frank, Greek mythology is rife with that, right? Could do like a double jump but make it infinite if you time it right. I could see that, yeah. Okay, all right. Cool. So once again, let's take these into sticky notes so they're a little more physical. We can move them around. So Prometheus Stealing Fire. By the way, how's work on the horror game? For those of you who are unaware, Risky Biscuit Games over on Twitch is making a horror game that highly leverages Morse code as a huge mechanic, which is just the coolest thing. So he's streaming his progress, and frankly, a much better developer than I am. So he's been making some cool stuff. Definitely go check him out. Kieran Games, Jumping and Jealous Gods, Tower of Babel. Try and reach heaven before the wrath of God strikes it down. Or maybe you get really close, and then lightning strikes the tower, and it's all falling, and you're just desperately trying to kind of combine it with the crumbling cliff from earlier, right? You're trying to leap on debris and make it up there. I love that. I think that is very funny. Honestly, I do think a game set right after the Tower of Babel could be really interesting. Of tower falls, rocks fall, tons of people probably die for sure. Now nobody understands each other anymore. You know, taking the very literal interpretation of the event. What happens then? I think that would be a really interesting space to explore. Choosing/training a champion to compete. And then we have training the crowd. Crowd trying to make at least one worthy. We have scaling Mount Olympus. And then we have Icarus with vertical ascension. Okay. So now that we have our stickies, I'm going to just... Tower of Babel would be a good Tetris spinoff. Oh, dear. Oh, Game Maker over on YouTube. My goodness. Okay. So, by the way, thank you everyone for being in here today. It's always a joy to be with you. I've been trying to figure out all sorts of nonprofit stuff because we're not technically incorporated as a nonprofit yet. And so I've been going through, especially with the affiliate coming down on Twitch, we need to start talking about, like, shoot, how do we actually handle revenue? How do we make sure funds are separated? How are we complying with laws and regulations? And it has been melting my brain. And I don't know how anybody makes a nonprofit, because I can spin up an LLC like that for $50 and, like, I'm good. I don't really have to worry about very much. But boy, nonprofits, man, I don't understand them. So this is lovely and very rejuvenating for me. Thank you all for being here. For those of you who are new to the channel, I see once again our numbers are continuing to go up. We are an organization that is devoted to helping individuals develop the skill sets that they need in order to enter the video game industry, whatever that may be. And we're particularly aimed about helping people that have never even considered game dev, because it just seems like an impossible dream. So if that's of interest to you, you're in the right place. Welcome home. Glad to have you here. We are trying to, everyone is being very kind and helping me to work on a concept for a game which is going to be incredibly simple, but we're going to polish as hard as we possibly can, so that I can have that experience of really, really refining something way past reason and getting it feeling amazing. Corey Cupcakes, welcome in, friend. Good to see ya. How's the feedback coming on your Game Jam submission? And also, are you doing anything else right now, or are you just kind of taking a break for a little bit? For those of you who don't know, Corey Cupcakes, who's over on Twitch right now, made the Game Jam submission Kudzu. Let's pull that up. It's a really neat little thing that I am really bad at, but is very impressive. They did it in Unity, and the objective is to spread your plants all across the areas, and you have these little kabutos running around trying to eat up all your plants, and you have kind of MOBA style abilities to knock them away. It's great. Very cool. Definitely go play it. Corey says, good. Axelot2705 on Twitch just streamed playing it. which was super helpful to see. Wow, that's awesome. How did that feel? Seeing a streamer play your game. How was that? Goal for the next week is to consume as much feedback as possible. Hilarious, given that we're talking about bugs that are eating stuff. Fix some bugs, even more hilarious. I'm rolling. And decide if we want to take it to the next phase. Oh, very cool. Very cool. That's super exciting, Corey. Congratulations. That must feel very rewarding in a lot of ways. That's so great. Also, was this your first game jam or game dev thing? Felt great, though I've been in software for a decade, so I'm used to watching people find all the things I did wrong. Well, yeah, I'll share your feeling there, being in product design for a decade. High five. All right, so which of these kind of concepts am I feeling would be the easiest to prototype and start getting feedback on? I had about 14 days of Unreal experience before the jam, and I did a lot of programming on it. Maybe 80% of it, so I'm pooped. Man, I believe it. 14 days of Unreal experience. But it sounds like you were like some sort of software developer beforehand, right? So at least you could kind of jump in to that degree, but that's a pretty steep onboarding. Web dev, nice. Very cool. Okay. I'm liking Icarus. This seems cool, and so does this one, but maybe a little bit, well, these two may be very similar, actually, in mechanical resolution. Scaling Mount Olympus, I think, is very cool, but it feels a little bit beyond what I'm comfortable tackling right now, because I think a large part of this would have to be kind of generating backgrounds for Mount Olympus as you climb it, or having a freaking giant, massive Mount Olympus background image and sprite that you're scaling. And that sounds very rad, maybe a little bit beyond my skill set right now. So I'm going to go very conservative on this. Once again, the goal is not make something even interesting. The goal is polish. And Prometheus stealing fire. How do I feel about these three? I really like the vertical ascension because, and to an extent, this is simpler in a lot of ways because the background is sky. That's it. Prometheus stealing fire, I feel like we start getting back into this space of scaling Mount Olympus where we're starting to maybe bite off a little bit more than I'm ready to chew right now. I gotta take some I forgot what I said halfway through the sentence. Welcome to the stream, everyone. Choosing or training a champion to compete in Icarus Vertical Ascension. What am I liking about these? Limb out of the underworld. Ooh, that's cool. You're talking about cash bonuses for all us viewers. Well, I mean, genuinely, Corey, I would love to do that. That's the whole purpose of this whole thing, which is everyone who participates in this channel needs to get an unreasonable amount of value. It's why, like, we're doing a nonprofit, because, or at least we're endeavoring to do so. Once again, we're not incorporated as a nonprofit yet, but we are pushing along those lines. We're trying to find a board of directors. We're trying to, get all of our articles of incorporation put together, because I don't want this to be about money. I want this to be about helping people. And so maybe not giving cash bonuses to everyone, but as an example of what we're trying to do, we're going to be having these calls on Thursday over with Amanusis over on his channel, where we're going to be interviewing 9 different teams of people who participated in the game jam. And Corey, I know you know that because I saw you on the sign-up list. But for everyone else, that's what we're pushing for. We need this to be a valuable asset to everyone. We don't want just the people who manage to get into the program itself and build a game together to be the ones that benefit from it. This has to be unreasonable for everyone. Avoiding a ghost. Yeah, hey, there's a Maripon. How's it going? Good to see you, friend. Ben Will. One thing to keep in mind about watching a streamer play your game, particularly a large streamer, is that they're generating revenue based on viewership. So a decent game is probably costing them money. They want really good or really bad, and are likely to try to frame any game they play as one of those, exaggerating both good and bad to create a compelling viewing experience. So criticism from streamers is likely to be useful but harsh. Absolutely, 100% agree, Binwell. And the other thing is, it might just not be a good game to stream, but might otherwise be an amazing game. I hear puzzle games struggle with this a lot. How do you make a puzzle game that people can make content off of? Because that's so much of marketing nowadays. And that doesn't mean that puzzle games are bad. It just means they're not very fun to like watch with other people. It's hard to make content for it. Puzzle games aren't bad. They just don't mesh well with marketing, with the popular method of marketing. So if you're making a puzzle game, you need to understand that. You need to understand you're probably not going to be getting a lot of streaming and sharing in that regard. You have to amp up your efforts elsewhere. You have to come up with an alternative strategy. A fallen god of... A god of jumping, says Game Maker 2D Fighter. Jumps out of the underworld to get back to his love. I love that. They were actually really nice. I'm glad, Corey. Vimlock just played my Game Jam game. That was pretty cool. Hey, very cool, Ameripon. I saw he was doing a bunch of those yesterday. Corey says, with that said, compliments are great. Criticism is valuable. I love when someone shreds my stuff up, but I have built up a thick skin over a long time. Now I desire it, so I can use it to make changes and improve, build, measure, learn. Sure. Yeah. The difficult thing is making sure, and this is something that every creative has to battle with, is what is the feedback you're going to take and what is the feedback you're going to leave behind. If Wife Quest were in the stream, she'd be able to talk to us all about that. She's a seasoned illustrator, has published, what, I think she said 14 books, and there's frequently times when she's arguing with art directors and saying, no, the glasses on this kid need to be comically large. That's the point. And she's learned how to do that. So it's definitely tough as a creative. You can't just take what everyone says at face value. You have to have a strong internal guidance system. And that's one of those tricky contraries that you always have to operate within when you are creating something, which is being open to critique and having a firm vision. And there's never going to be a right answer to that. You're always going to be figuring out the right balance for the right moment at the right time. Very, very tough. So, what are we trying? What do I like about these things? I like Icarus thematically. I like how your mic volume is kind of low. Okay, it looks like it's getting pretty close to the danger red territory for me. Let me boost it up a little bit. Let me know if that's a little bit better. Thank you, Ameripon. We're constantly fiddling with values here. We just got real sound deadening material up on the walls for yesterday's stream. This is the first time the second day we've had these sound deadening material up. So, definitely still fiddling with values. If you think something can be improved, please let me know. I like the jealousy, and I like the triumph over that, and I like the frankly, I love the low art asset investment, where you're sailing through the sky, right? That's nice. You can have clouds, you can have birds, you can have, whatever thing you might have in a sky, but it would be kind of simpler to produce. That would make polish a little bit more difficult. Oh dear. Like, how do we maintain visual interest is a really good question. Something we'd have to be very deliberate about. Choosing or training a champion to compete, I like it just from I love fantasy, and I love an adventurer. I love a good adventurer, And that's not a very great reason, but I kind of love it. It kind of starts to... Whereas Icarus is about kind of triumph over jealous gods, the becoming a champion is about representing and allying with gods. Jealousy and triumph over gods. Representing and allying with gods. And I like that. I like that feeling. I have this idea in my head of the burrito bison verticality, but mixed with Hades. And I think that's, for some reason, that's a really compelling concept in my head of Hades-style progression, where you have these gods coming in and providing different boons that interact with each other, and they're kind of trying to one-up each other, and they bring in problems into your life because you've allied with one or the other. I like that concept. Do I think that's feasible to build for me within a reasonable timeline? I think so. I don't think it would be all that hard. I'll just take Alex Nord's advice and actually use global variables for once in my life. You know? I think this would be more difficult from an art investment side of things. Art costs higher. You know what? Okay, I'm actually, I'm kind of, this is getting dangerous. I'm kind of leaning towards this idea the more I think about it, because something that I think would be really rad is as you start to ally with certain of the deities, bad guys from the other deities start showing up in the level. And then you can kind of manipulate that a little bit. I think that would be interesting. Dynamic bad guys in level based off of current alignment. That could be interesting. I think that could be really interesting. So I find myself, it's so close between these two. I think this is what I'm going to go with, though. At least for now, to start off with. So let's scale this up. So we have this concept of competing deities in jealousy, and then choosing or training a champion to compete. And you'll notice that we started with what emotion do we want to elicit from the player, and we have since moved to what emotions are we kind of conveying towards the player. Those are different things. Once again, design is a wibbly-wobbly process. You never know where it's going to go, and that's okay. That's part of the process. I like this. I think now the emotions that the player may be feeling in this type of an environment would be tiptoeing around celestial relationships, managing things, diplomacy almost, or outright war, all through the usage of one jump button. Okay. So let's start exploring this a little bit more. This is where I'm going to actually get out the tablet here. Whoops. Oh, goodness. I've just ascended to Tartarus. I've returned with bounteous treasures. Okay. Let's jump over here. If I were to kind of just sketch out some rough ideas, and this is going to be thumbnail style approach, right? What sort of a game might this be? We're going to let's do 8 different thumbnails, and we'll time ourselves. We'll give ourselves 1 minute to throw out an idea. Get something on the paper, and after that minute, we will move on to the next idea. And we're just going to repeat that 8 times. It's going to be that simple. We're going to do a 1 minute timer. And go. So So the concept here is we're just going to do Burrito Bison. We got our jump meter, and then we've got the progress in a level with bosses and elites and stuff, and you get flung out, and you are trying to jump to overcome bad guys. We can have like a little baddie here. Look how bad they are. And then maybe even like, coins. I mean, this is just Burrito Bison. This is literally exactly what that game did 20 years ago in Flash. All right, that's the end of that minute. Let's restart, do a new one. Let's say we are now jumping upwards, and we have our bar. I think something that could be interesting is having like different hazards possibly on the bar. Like, this is a bad thing to hit, this is a good thing to hit. Maybe you want lower power because it'll give you a boon for later. Or take a dive. Take a dive to get a guaranteed loot. I think that's very funny. That's that jealousy aspect again. And then as you're going up, you can have bad guys you need to maybe steer clear out of. And just vertical Burrito Bison in that regard. And that's our timer. Now we're going to move on to the next idea. Okay. Oops. Dismiss. There we go. New one. What if instead of all of that, what if it were a tree? All trees are pine trees. And you were trying to jump to branches. What if we abandoned Greek mythology at all, and now it's like nature gods, right? You're a little woodland creature, and you're trying to get to, the star at the top of the tree. And maybe there could be a, constantly moving jump reticle that you're having to time. Maybe that's an interesting concept, and that is pretty much our time. We only have a couple seconds left. Any other last thoughts to throw onto here? Nothing that's really coming to mind. Okay, that's the end of the timer. Dismiss. Here we go. Next idea. That was what, 3? Okay, number 4. Halfway through. So let's explore maybe that concept. Maybe instead of being woodland creatures, what is something else you could jump? What if instead of jumping, it's Flappy Bird, right? And like you're swimming. You are now a mer creature with a crocodile mouth. I don't know. And you are trying to, avoid obstacles. And we have the gods of the ocean vying for your attention. So now we've kind of abandoned that concept of a meter. Now it's an auto runner. DK, hello, welcome in. We're doing a design exercise called Crazy Eights, where we're sketching down 8 different ideas within 8 minutes. We have 1 minute for each idea. I've used up 10 seconds talking to you. That's gonna run out my timer. We're gonna start again. That was idea number 4. We're gonna go to idea number 5. Risky Biscuit. I once made a Flappy Bird game that you had to yell into to keep you afloat. Oh man. I just talked about yes. A wellness app. Had an idea with my wife where it's an incremental game in the background, and then when you need to calm down and you need to be mindful, you boot it into active mode and you breathe into your microphone. And the microphone picks up your breathing, your and reads that. And so you calm down, and then you get a big batch of rewards, and then you're done, and you put it back into incremental mode, and you go about the rest of your day. I love that idea, Risky Biscuit. That's awesome. Did you ever publish that anywhere? Is it on Itch or anything? All right. Next sketch. Here we go. Number 5. What if we did perfect reload the jumping game, right? So you are a birdie, and you have wings, as birdies do. And these wings go up and down, and you are trying to press jump in the perfect spot, right? So here is a miss, here is a miss, here is a hit. There you go. Also, now remember I did another one which you had to breathe into a breath machine for cystic fibrosis exercises. That sounds really interesting. That's really cool. Yeah, DK, welcome in. Thanks for joining us. I hope you're making something amazing here today. The Yell one I don't think ever got published was for a health company, and they were going to send it to trials, but not sure what happened after it. Very cool. So was this like as a gamification role, or was it just a sort of breathing healthcare app? Sounds really cool either way. Okay. Number 6. This is where I'm starting to dry up. And this is usually where you start to dry up out of ideas. You kind of pushed and pushed and pushed. And then the thing that usually tends to help people is any idea you have, write it down, no matter how silly or dumb it is. So what if you're I don't know, this is what keeps coming to my mind. What if you were a lizard? Yeah, with a tail. And you've got big animal feels today. And you're trying to jump across, I don't know, lily pads? That's not where my brain started, but that's kind of interesting. And that's basically just Frogger. Jump, jump, jump. Yeah, I mean, this is really just Frogger. Let's just add in some logs and some cars, and then we have Frogger. Yeah, I was meant to teach people some musical basics. There were some studies showing the effects of learning music on mental health. Oh, that's super rad. That is so interesting. Okay, number 7, second to last. What if Blizzard made a game that was all about jumping? What would that look like? What would Blizzard make? Or EA. What would EA do with jumping? Battle Pass. Buy your loot box to jump higher. And this is kind of a joke, but it is helpful to generate ideas. You know, this concept of obtainable loot. In fact, okay, here's an interesting idea. You're a trash panda. That's a raccoon, by the way, who is eyeing treasure and bringing that back to their... Okay, that's the timer done. We're going to move to the next idea. Last one. I kind of like this idea. You're a magpie. And you are bringing treasures to the altars of magpie gods. And so you've got like your altar here of god number 1 and god number 2 and god number 3. Ooh, and then like the loot that you pick up in your run while you're jumping or jumping, flying essentially, you decide where to allocate and in order to gain different boons. And then the different levels of each of these, level 5, level 2, because I've put, like a coin in there, and this is level 0, can have different effects. Like you're at level 0, you now have a Bane. And because these two are interacting with each other, you are getting this bonus. And maybe this one gives you a bonus for being down with that one, even though this one is giving you a negative. That could be interesting. And maybe they all have like a negative for being second place or something. I really like that idea. That's kind of really interesting. I think that's really interesting. I like that idea a lot, actually. So you're kind of like You're building your build. And what if this was a pool of characters? A pool of gods, and then you got a couple of options to throw stuff into. Okay. We're going places. I'm going to go grab our Octalysis framework here, because I find it a helpful mental model to conceptualize a game from a lot of different angles. I'm going to grab Octalysis. Okay. So, why do I turn off my drawing pad so quickly? Here we go. So, if we were to go that route that we got to in the last one, by the way, this is exactly why you brainstorm. This is why you do a bunch of different thumbnails. Because you can see I was kind of stuck on this idea for a long time. This burrito bison, jumping, flying, climbing thing. And it wasn't until we started exploring all these other ideas that I was able to get past that. It wasn't until I even started talking about this really dumb idea, which was mostly just a joke, that I got to something that actually was really exciting for me. So, meaning, you are vying for support of godhood. What are ways we can amplify that? Let's give it some more dramatic tension. It can't just be, I want glory because I'm a glory hound. Nobody's gonna identify with that. They're not gonna care. That's not tense. So, Game Maker 2D Fighter, we're gonna throw it back over to you. You have a loved one who is, dead. And maybe what we're vying for is, for a boon. Like, once a year, this group of deities gathers together, and whoever shows the most devotion to this pantheon, they will grant one boon to. And you are trying to bring back your loved one. That shoves meaning pretty high up there. That's something people can identify with and really get emotionally invested into. There's just a rough draft. It'll probably change over time, almost assuredly. But I think this is an interesting start. So Boone will resurrect. Oh, jeez. Boone will resurrect. And then empowerment. How empowered is the player? Well, not only are they going to be jumping in their levels and gathering loot, doing all that sort of stuff, they're also deciding how to spend it. And it's really granular, which I think is probably the most interesting thing here. That it's not just, picking Ares or Poseidon. It's like, how are we going to distribute this? And how is that going to affect my relationships with everything else? I think that's more empowering than not. Although, obviously, we are restricting a lot because we're saying you only have one thing you can do. Game Maker 2D Fighter, that sounds like a good concept. I'm really intrigued by it. It might turn out to, not be fun, but I'm really interested in it. I think there's something there, something over there, and if we prototype it and play it and iterate, we'll probably find something that will be a little bit different than this, but still interesting and fun. Social influence. No, this is a weak part. Not a whole lot of social influence inherently in the design. And do I even want to bother with that right now? Easy stuff we could do. Okay, sorry, let me write down notes here. Granular spending. Granular spending and skill-based jumping. Whatever that ends up looking like. And then ways to boost social influence in roguelikes that are really easy. You have seeds. That's a really easy way. You have daily runs. But, daily runs are definitely way beyond what I want to build. Just period. Not just for this project, just in general. I don't want to build that. That all of a sudden we have to start dealing with a whole bunch of things way outside my scope. So we're not going to deal with that. So I think we just recognize social influence is going to be a little weak on this thing. Unpredictability, I actually think is fairly high because we can have random levels. We can even do what we were talking about before of random enemies or obstacles, whatever it ends up being. And we've got the randomness of tribute options. Tribute options. Avoidance. It's a good question. I think there's a little bit of avoidance baked into our meaning because we want to avoid loss. Ameripon, sorry I haven't been following, but what is all this brainstorming for? A new game you're working on or a current game you have going on? This is for a new game. So this is the big thing, the great secret that I learned during the game jam, which is not really true. I've been learning this over and over again for 10 years as a product designer, but it was hammered home very strongly in the game jam that polish wins. And so this entire thing that we're doing here today is brainstorming design concepts for a very simple game based around one action the player can take, which is jumping. So we're going to take jumping, we're going to make a game around it, and we're going to polish it as much as we humanly can. And that will be a very stretching exercise for me, spending an unreasonable amount of time on something to polish it up. So I think there's avoidance of loss. I guess if it's a competition, you kind of want to avoid loss, not just for your family, but also just losing in general. You don't want to lose. Not the strongest in avoidance. You know, I might put it kind of maybe here-ish, somewhere kind of middle, low, mid sort of space. Scarcity, I think, is actually going to be fairly high because we have limited movement. And then you can't spend your benefits on anything that you want. You have to rely on what the game gives you. So the, how did I write that before? The tribute options. Tribute options. Ownership. You know, this is kind of a powerful thing with roguelikes. It's why they're very streamable. Because when people watch it, they don't say, cool, now I understand that experience. I don't need to experience that anymore. They say, wow, I really want to be in the driving seat. I want to be making the decisions. There's kind of an inherent high concentration of ownership in that. How do we write that down? In a succinct way. It's drivable. Let me put it that way. Drivable. I know what that means. Nobody else needs to know. And then accomplishment, I do think actually that's going to be fairly high, especially if we can hammer home this like dead loved one thing, you know, and really make that a powerful moment. I think that could be really, really strong, especially if the skill-based jumping is something a little bit difficult. And then not only is it like technically rewarding because you have learned how to master the mechanic and also you have learned how to master your build, but then also you kind of have that extra thematic thing of a competition and you are competing against others. And so you kind of feel some accomplishment. You may even form little mini rivalries throughout a run, right? You may say, oh, this meanie, they're always doing things, which is now starting to surface another concept, which is other participants affect you. Which is interesting. So there is AI actively interfering with you, whether that is, you know, Battle Tetris style, where when they get enough points, then something happens in your world, or whether it is they are directly on your map and they are causing problems for you. I think that's interesting. I need to be very careful about this, though, because this is getting into stuff I am not super confident in my ability to execute on very well. We don't want to go too far down a rabbit hole on something that I'm not really ready to execute at a high level of polish yet, even if it's really intriguing. And this can't take, 5 years to build. This has to be something, ideally within a couple of months, it's done, right? And we can release. So let's see what our map is here. Kind of get our visual going. So, we're definitely seeing we're skewing left, right? If I go into our highlighter here and kind of color this all in, we're skewing very left on ownership, accomplishment. We're doing pretty well on meaning. We're doing okay on empowerment. Social is very low. Unpredictability is fine, and avoidance is kind of low. So if we wanted to really, really ham this up into a very strong commercial product, it would be worth talking about how do we boost social? How do we boost avoidance? All that sort of stuff. I have an idea. I have an idea for avoidance that I think would drive it up a good amount. Whoop. This is all just theory. You don't know anything until people start actually playing it. But what if each time you went out into the world to go and gather tribute, there was a challenge? And if you accomplished, you got more boons from a particular god. But if you don't, you get an extra bane from that god. That's interesting. Now all of a sudden there's an avoidance of, I don't want to mess up, because even if I don't care about that boon, I don't want to lose the good things. You can fall. Risky Biscuit, you sound like you're talking about something that is not in my head. What do you mean you can fall? That is implying like we are up high. We are on platforms of some sort, and there is a verticality, and falling is bad. Non-believers try to stop you. Ooh, that's interesting. What goes up must come down, right? Yeah. Yes. And this and that's why I think this is really interesting, because I think in my head I was almost sort of envisioning this sort of auto-scrolling experience with platforms and obstacles and stuff coming down dynamically, and you have to jump onto them and jump, right? But falling down might just be like a loss of a life, or that tribute run is ended. But it sounds like there may be a little bit more going on in your head about what this might be, and I'd be very curious to hear what that was. So yeah, social influence, very low. Very low. If we did daily runs, that pushes it up a lot, but we don't want to do that. I mean, you're getting over it, right? Well, not necessarily, right? I didn't have a mental model in my mind of getting over anything, but like kind of venturing into the Badlands where there are treasure, right? The game getting over it. Okay, so you kind of reset your progress a little bit. How would that tie in? That concept of your progress is reset. Because in getting over it, I think part of the reason that it works is that there's no time pressure. And there's no health. There's really no loss state. There's only progressions of winning. And it's a matter of how much are you willing to tolerate in order to make it to that next threshold percentage of 1. I mean, that's interesting, though, because... And this is kind of bringing in some thoughts from earlier in the design process of, what if this isn't just randomly generated? What if there was a goal? And you needed to travel X distance in order to win. And the person that travels X distance first wins. So now, having that progress reset, that's all of a sudden scary. If you displease a god, they throw you back down. Yeah, they reset you, right? That's interesting. That's an interesting idea, Risky Biscuit. We're not just playing for X number of rounds. We're trying to get as far as we can. And you know what? I actually really like this, because what that means is if you are good at the jumping, you will amass more treasure per giving of tribute, assuming we do tribute dedication after you fall, right? You're done, you have fallen, you need to go rest up at the shrines or whatever. You can dedicate your tribute and gain boons to help you out for the next time. And so if you're better at the skill-based jumping, you will move further up, and it empowers you more to accomplish your meaning. And then you can throw more at a given point into making sure you have the right tribute options that you're looking for. I think this is interesting. Thank you. Yeah. No, I like that concept a lot. Huh. Okay. I think we have a basic structure of a game here. I think we have a structure where you go out into the wilds or somewhere. This is interesting because we can start taking this in a number of different directions and themes. And we can mix themes in an interesting way. Like, what if these platforms were here because we were in a post-apocalyptic world? Everything is, nuclear wasteland, and there are just little pockets of non-irradiated space. And in that moment of quiet contemplation, the Greek gods returned to humanity. I think that's an interesting contrast. It might be too weird for a market, but I like it. Another tense mechanic you could do is just reward the player on the distance achieved and have a timer, and wherever the person is at the timer end is how many points they get. We could, yeah. So I think there should be a part of that. I think distance should factor into some sort of reward for the player. I also really like the idea of forcing people out of their way in order to pick up tribute and like treasure chests and stuff, right? So you have to kind of divert from the route that you thought you were going to go in order to get the resources you want. Make those last couple of seconds tense, because if you fall at that point, oof, just reward the player on distance achieved and have a timer, and wherever the person is at the timer end. Oh, I see. So, okay. So in that world, falling isn't even an end state. It's just you get pushed back a little bit and you lose time. That's an interesting thought. I could see that. And then when you set out, you're going to be jumping for 60 seconds. And it's a matter of how far are you able to push in those 60 seconds. I could definitely see that. We could do, we could go nature gods, and we could start bringing the moon back, right? Reach the moon. We could explore all sorts of really weird and interesting themes on this. A hidden glade, like Arthurian fae sort of stuff, where you are reaching the lady in the lake or whatever. Could do classic floor is lava, volcano style. And then, you know, we've got our platforms coming down. That's all very simple. Okay. So we go out here, and then either on time lost or falling. One of those or the other. We'll have to figure out exactly what. I like both the ideas. Then we go to the store, essentially, where we use or dedicate our tribute to one of, let's say, 3 different options. And then maybe there will be 5 options total. And depending on how you move things, that will change their ordering and their relationships with each other. And I think that's a very compelling concept. I like it. So let's come up with a game plan for tomorrow, because we only have 10 minutes left before I need to jump. Thank you very much, everyone, for being out here today. It's been such a joy having you here. Let's talk about what we're going to do Wednesday. On Wednesday, we are going to... We're going to start sketching UI. Very basic UI wireframes. Now that we have an idea of kind of what the flow is and the experience, we're going to start taking this the next step of fidelity up. We're going to get some sketches of the UI, and then we're going to go straight into prototyping. And we're going to get a very basic wireframe prototype, just boxes and arrows. Rip. If you know, you know. And then if whenever we finish that basic prototype, which will be very, very, very scope limited. I need to make a note of this. Scope limited. Like 1 hazard, 3 tributes, rather not tributes, but like gods, 3 gods, and 1 tribute type. And no randomness, no random generation, like of the levels or anything. And we'll just do it on a simple, like, 3 loops. And end. That's what we're going to do. Risky Biscuit. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say with my game, you have a demo out? Although I'm going to make some tweaks on it before really trying to push it more. Also got my wife to play the game and recorded it for a video. She doesn't do well with horror. You monster. She seems like such a nice lady. How dare you? What? Okay. Remind me what your game's name is. Is it on Steam? Is the demo on Steam? Share a link. Put the link in the chat. I want to know. I want to hear about this. I desperately want to play it. So we'll prototype. Very limited scope. And then we'll test. And we'll just start knocking this out. In the intervening few minutes on Discord. Okay. I'm jumping in. Proof right here. Joining. Nice. I didn't know you had a Discord. This is great. Oh, and you've even got like rules set up. Oh, goodness. Nice. Very cool. I can't wait to try that out. I am so excited about that. I do horribly with terror. I don't love terror. But I love seeing people I know making rad things. So that will definitely be worth it all. Okay. Oh, you know what? I need to start, like, previewing who should we raid. We've got 5 people here. Seems like a shame not to show some love somewhere. You know, let's go to Connie-Dev. They've been doing some really cool stuff. They did a really cool game for the Game Jam. They're a relatively new streamer, and they're doing great. They're knocking it out of the park. They made this really interesting thing of a virus spreading throughout a system. It was really neat. I enjoyed my time I spent in their stream. So we're gonna go ahead and raid Connie-Dev. Oh, unfortunately, that is the end of our time together here today. I sure appreciate all of you. Thank you for being here. I've had a blast. As a reminder, we did reach affiliate over the weekend. We're trying to design out a good experience for what are we going to be using channel points for and everything. So if you have thoughts on that, jump into our Discord, and there is a poll up in the general channel. You're going to leave a reaction next to anything that sounds interesting to you, whether it's critiques of your game, analyses of any game that we just throw on the stream for like an hour and play, and we analyze it together. Getting a spotlight of your game with no critique involved, just the spotlight, or doing some other type of private off-stream call, or any other concepts or ideas you have. I want to hear what would be interesting and valuable to all of you. Thank you for joining the Discord. With that, I think we'll go ahead and jump over. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. This would never exist without all of you here, and thank you for being some of the early foundational members to what is a wild and crazy dream. So we're going to go jump over to Connie-Dev. Have a great day. Kyrian, thank you so much. Appreciate you. And we will see you next time. And one of these days, I will master the timing of this so that Twitch's stupid little, wait 10 seconds thing after you click start raid doesn't hit. My goodness. For all of you on YouTube, I just sent out the channel name, the link in chat. Or at least I'm intending to. Restream may not be doing it. Hold on. There we go. If you want to come join us over there, you're more than welcome to. We value our YouTube community just as well. With that, we'll see you later.